You are not crazy. I need you to hear that before anything else, because if there's a manipulator in your life, they have spent months, maybe years, making sure you believe the opposite, that you're too sensitive, that you're the dramatic one, that every single thing that went wrong was somehow your fault. And here's the part that makes my blood cold: a lot of you believed it. Some of you still believe it right now. But here's what actually happened. You were not broken. You were targeted. There's a difference, and that difference changes everything. Because manipulators don't just stumble into your life and accidentally make a mess. They study you. They find the door that opens easiest, and they walk through it slowly like they own the house. By the time you realize what's happening, they're already sitting at your table eating your food and convincing you that you're lucky to have them there. Today we're flipping that table. Not with screaming, not with revenge, but with 5 things that will completely dismantle the hold they have on you. And I'm saving the most powerful one for last because it's the quietest. And quiet things, as you're about to find out, are exactly what a manipulator cannot survive. Let's start with the one that sounds harmless but operates like starvation. Think about the most boring thing you've ever seen in your life. A gray rock sitting on the side of the road. Nobody picks it up. Nobody photographs it. Nobody talks about it. It just sits there, existing completely unbothered, completely ignored. That is your first weapon. Now here's what most people get completely wrong when they're dealing with a manipulator. They think the goal is to win, to say the right thing at the right time, to finally get the manipulator to understand or admit what they did. So they try harder. They explain more. They bring receipts. They make their case with more passion and more detail than ever before. And every single time it makes things worse. Not because they said the wrong thing, but because they said anything at all. A manipulator doesn't want your explanation. They want your energy. They want to see your face change. They want to watch you scramble to defend yourself, to prove yourself, to make them understand. The content of what you say means nothing to them. The fact that you're responding, that you're activated, that you care enough to argue, that is the whole meal. So what happens when you become a gray rock? When someone asks you a loaded question designed to crack you open and you say, "I'm okay," in the flattest voice imaginable. When they poke at you and you give them nothing. Not coldness, not rudeness, just absolutely nothing interesting to grab onto. They get bored, and a bored manipulator leaves. That's not a maybe. That's science. Because what they're hungry for is a reaction, and you just close the kitchen. They'll try again. They'll say something more outrageous, more hurtful, more designed to break you open. And you'll respond the same way. Maybe. Or, "I hadn't thought about it." All delivered with the emotional temperature of someone reading a grocery list. This isn't passive. This is you starving them out. And a starving manipulator doesn't leave because they're satisfied. They leave because there's nothing left to eat. Here's a scene that might sound familiar. You're in the middle of a conversation. Something feels off. They said something that doesn't add up, or they changed the story from last time, or they're blaming you for something and the logic is so twisted you can barely follow it. And instead of pointing it out, instead of saying, "Wait, that makes no sense," you go quiet. Because the last time you questioned them, it turned into a 2-hour war that somehow ended with you apologizing. So you swallow it. Again. Now let me show you something different. Not a fight. Not a confrontation. Just one sentence that will make their entire story collapse in real time. That's interesting. Can you help me understand that better? That's it. That's the weapon. When you ask a manipulator to explain themselves clearly, slowly, and out loud, something happens that they are completely unprepared for. Their own story starts falling apart. Because their stories are built for speed. They're designed to be thrown at you fast, so you react before you think. Slow it down and the whole thing unravels. You're not accusing them. You're not attacking them. You're simply asking them to be clear. And they can't be. Because their version of events was never meant to survive close inspection. Here's what happens at a neurological level. When someone tells a true story, the memory is cohesive. It exists in their brain as an actual experience. When they retell it, the details stay consistent because they're recalling an event, not constructing a narrative. But when someone fabricates a story, they're engaging in active creation. The cognitive load is higher. And when you ask them to repeat it, they have to recreate it again, often with different details, because their brain didn't store it as a memory. So they stumble. They change small facts. They get defensive. "Why are you interrogating me?" Or they refuse. "I already told you this." Both responses tell you everything. Keep your voice curious. Keep your face neutral. Ask it like you genuinely want to understand. Because here's the beautiful part, if they actually have a reasonable explanation, you'll learn something real. And if they don't, you'll know that too. Either way, this one question hands all the pressure back to them without you raising your voice once. There's a specific kind of pain that comes from being told your own memory is wrong. Not just disagreed with, not just questioned, but flatly, calmly told that the thing you clearly remember didn't happen, that you heard it wrong, that you're remembering it wrong. That you have a habit of twisting things, of making mountains out of nothing, of seeing problems that don't exist. And the worst part is that after long enough you start to wonder if they might be right. This is not a communication problem. This is not two people with different perspectives. This is a deliberate strategy with a name: gaslighting. And it works because it targets the one thing you trust most, your own mind. So here's what you do. Not confrontationally, not even with them in mind at first. You simply start keeping a record. For yourself. A note in your phone, a journal beside your bed, a voice memo recorded quietly after a conversation ends. You write down what was said, when it was said, how it made you feel. You do it the same way you would track something important at work, factually, consistently, without drama. Date and time. What was said in direct quotes when possible. What was promised or claimed. How it made you feel. What this does over time is remarkable. Your own clarity comes back. Because every time you write it down, you're telling yourself that your experience was real, that it happened, that it was worth remembering. And when they later try to rewrite it, you have the receipt. You never have to show them. You might never need to. This record is not a weapon pointed at them. It's a shield protecting you from the slow erosion of your own truth. And once your truth is protected, the gaslighting stops having anywhere to land. Before we go any further, if this is landing somewhere real for you right now, take a second and subscribe. Drop a comment that says, "I see clearly now," and we'll reply personally. Because what's coming in the next two tactics is the part most people in your situation were never told. There's a reason manipulators don't want you to have close friends. There's a reason they make small comments about the people you love. Nothing too obvious, just a quiet word here and there. That friend is kind of using you, don't you think? Your sister doesn't really have your back. Those people don't understand you the way I do. Each comment sounds almost reasonable on its own. But together, over time, they add up to something very specific: isolation. Because a person with a full life, full of people who love them, and activities that light them up, is a person who can leave. And a manipulator's greatest fear is not losing you, it's losing control of you. Those are completely different things. So here's what you do. Slowly. Quietly. Without making it a moment. You text back the friend you've been distant from. You say yes to the family dinner you kept skipping. You sign up for the class. You pick up the hobby. You find one small thing each week that belongs only to you, that has nothing to do with the manipulator and cannot be touched by them. You're not running away. You're not making a plan. You're just living your life fully like you always had the right to. But here's what's actually happening underneath that. Every new connection you make is a door out of the trap. Every person who knows your real story is a witness. Every part of your life that has nothing to do with the manipulator is a piece of yourself they can never hold hostage. The manipulator will notice something shifting. They won't be able to name it exactly, but they'll feel it. The grip loosening. And that feeling for them is more threatening than any argument you could ever start. You don't have to fight your way out. You simply have to grow your way out. Bigger than the cage until the bars just don't reach you anymore. Everything we've covered today is real. Every tactic works. But this last one is different, because this one is not about what you do around a manipulator. It's about what you finally stop doing inside yourself. Here it is. Stop trying to make them understand. I know that sounds simple, maybe even obvious, but listen, because this is the one that takes the longest and costs the most. When something unfair happens to us, our instinct is to seek understanding. We go back. We explain again. We find better words. We write the message, delete it, rewrite it. We have the conversation in our heads 100 times. We think, if we could just find the right way to say it, something would finally click for them. Some light would turn on. They would see what they did. They would feel something. They would change. That hope, that specific hope, is the chain. Because a manipulator cannot give you the understanding you're looking for. Not because they're incapable of understanding, but because your understanding serves them nothing. They already know what happened. They know exactly what they did. The performance of not knowing, the confusion, the denial, the "you're too sensitive," the "I never said that," that's not ignorance. That's strategy. Because as long as you keep coming back to make them understand, they still have you. Every time you return to explain yourself again, to find better words, to make one more case for why what they did was wrong, you're telling them that their approval still has power over you, that you still need something from them. And as long as you need something from them, they have you. The day you genuinely stop needing them to understand is the day the whole thing collapses. Not because you got revenge, not because you won the argument, but because you quietly finally took your need back. You stop standing at a door that was never going to open, and you walk down the street and find doors that open wide and warm and easy. Doors where you don't have to explain yourself 6 different ways. Doors where your experience is believed the first time. Doors where people's words match their actions. And here's what happens inside you when you make this shift. Peace. Not the fake peace of suppression, or the temporary peace of distance. Real peace. The kind that comes from releasing someone from a role they were never going to fill. The manipulator may never apologize. They may never admit anything. They may continue telling their version of the story until the day they die. And you? You'll be fine. Because you stopped waiting for a validation that was never coming, and started validating yourself. This is what they can't handle. Not your anger. Not your accusations. Not your distance, your indifference. The sight of you genuinely okay, genuinely unbothered, genuinely living a life that doesn't include waiting for anything from them anymore. That is the shift that ends it. Every single time. Let me leave you with something honest. None of this is fast. A manipulator didn't build their hold on you in a day. It was slow and careful and done in such small steps that you never saw it as it was happening. Undoing it takes the same patience. It takes you choosing yourself again and again in small moments when it would be easier not to. But here's what's also true. You're already doing it. The fact that you searched for this video, the fact that you're still here, that's not nothing. That's your mind fighting for you even when the rest of you felt exhausted. So, here's what you do. Become the gray rock they can't excite. Ask the questions that slow their stories down. Keep a record that protects your own truth. Build a life too big for them to contain. And let go of the need for them to ever understand you. Not for them, for you. Completely for you. The version of you that existed before all of this, they're still there. A little quieter maybe. A little more careful. But still there. Still worth finding again. Go find them. If this reached you today, share it with someone who needs it. And watch the next video because we're not done yet. There's more you deserve to know.